holding a cylinder stick. This is the part where I'm gonna get flamed in the comments. You notice anything different? I had to borrow this from someone else. It looks a teeny bit large on me, but as you could tell by my shirt and the title of this video, we're going to be making a blind bag using only yellow items. So I've done a challenge like this before. Other colors, I've done the red and pink challenge, the green challenge, the blue challenge. Why not bring them back? Let's see if I can find anything to make this blind bag with, because shoot, I don't know if I have that much yellow. So guys, I've been looking all over my room to find some yellow art supplies. Miraculously, I have way more things than I thought. I got a bunch of yellow paper of varying different shades. Some of my yellow stash also has some different kind of patterns. If you're wondering where I got like all these kind of square pieces of paper, I used to do a bunch of origami when I was little, but I don't do it that much anymore, so we're just gonna use it for this project. So that's that. I also have a bunch of just writing and coloring supplies. Well, not a lot, but just enough to make a blind bag with. Like, what are the chances of me having a yellow pen? I've had this ever since I was in, what, 5th grade? Hopefully I can use it today. I have this eraser, which is like a puppy, I think. It looks kind of creepy, but we're gonna use this as our eraser today. Guess what? Our scissors has yellow. I'm counting this even though most of it's gray. Don't flame me in the comments, it still has yellow. I also have just like a bunch of random stuff, I guess, to use as blind bag items. I have this like, what? I know what it is, I just don't know what to call it. You know those styrofoam wrappings that you find in the grocery store? I also found 1 or 2 yellow stickers. I have this yellow Easter egg, this random corn dog, I guess, and this random duck. I don't think I'm gonna use this today, but I'm just gonna leave it here because I like it. But like with any color challenge, I do let myself use white and black. So these are the white and black materials that I'm probably going to use for this challenge if I ever do. But I'm going to try to limit the use of these, especially with the white paper, because with my other color challenges, a lot of you guys were flaming me in the comments for using white paper, saying that, hey, it's not green, it's not blue. I'm really going to limit my use of white paper, but I'm going to let myself use these, okay? Like, please. So there's just one problem, and that's finding something to stick everything together. This is the part where I'm gonna get flamed in the comments. In the last video, you probably saw me use glue tape. I mean, it's kind of yellow. I mean, maybe if you look at this from a mile away and you wear yellow tinted sunglasses, it's yellow, alright? The hurdles I'm making you jump through to convince you that this is yellow. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, let me stop babbling and actually get on to making the blind bag. That's what you're here for, right? I'm going to start here by folding our yellow paper in half. This is what we're going to use as the cover. To begin decorating the front, I'm bringing in this light yellow piece of paper and folding it in half. I want to use this as a little backdrop for the title of the blind bag. I don't have a clear vision as to what this backdrop will look like, but like with any of the challenges, we're just gonna go with the flow. Next, I'm using my glue tape to connect the 2 halves together the long way, simply because I want the light yellow paper to run across the entire width of the cover, and 1 half was just not enough. Thank you, glue tape, for not making a mess. With a pencil, I'm drawing some squiggly lines on the top and bottom. I kinda want the title to pop out at you, with some drip-like decorum. Once that's done, it's now time to use my yellow-ish scissors to cut out our pencil sketches, which I admit was kind of annoying considering all of the twists and turns I had to do to cut this thing out. This piece of paper was really testing my hand dexterity and I didn't appreciate it. Alright, let's test and see what it looks like on the cover. Ooh, that looks preposterous. Maybe if we used it to line just the top edge, maybe it would look better. It looks a little better like that, so let's just stick with that for now. I'm bringing back the glue tape again to apply adhesive onto the back side of the paper. Let's apply that on real securely. Trim the top off as well as the sides, and there we go. All that work just for a mid-edge trim design. Hopefully we can save this with another sheet of paper. This will be the main image that you'll see on the front of the blind bag cover. Don't know if you guys recall, but when I did the blind bag without scissors challenge, I made this orange blob for the main image of the front cover, and I kinda wanted to do the same for this challenge. Except, of course, it's going to be yellow. I'm also going to try and give it a different facial expression so that it looks a little bit more unique. Unlike the orange blob, this blob is holding a cylinder stick. Impressive choice of vocabulary, Meepyblues. No, I'm just trying to be vague. I'll tell you my plans for this later. I also wanted to add some dimension to this drawing using a highlighter, which, you know, is not really meant for art, but whatever. And a white pen, which is honestly the juiciest white pen I've ever used in my life. I'll try to find a link to it so that you guys can check it out as well. So, I'm not really fond of how this looks right now. So I whipped out my trusty old yellow colored pencil to add in some extra shading. Immediately, the beauty was radiating from the paper. It was no longer ugly. What a relief. I'm also adding in some highlights with the white pen, which is always welcomed here. Okay, it's not groundbreaking, but compared to the piercing hue of the highlighter, I think the changes made our blob a tiny bit better at least. Well, regardless of what you think, I'm going to cut out our blob with some scissors. And could we just appreciate this face? This blob has a better face card than I'll ever have. Now that our blob is cut out, we're going to stick it onto the front of the blind bag. There we go. I decided to add a shadow with a pencil so that the blob looks a little bit more grounded, which I don't know why I did this to be honest, but I did it anyways, so deal with it. With my leftover light yellow paper, I'm drawing in some yellow stars. These will just be extra embellishments for the cover, and since stars are widely depicted as yellow, it just seemed to be like an obvious choice to make. I'm going to cut out the stars, apply glue tape onto the back of each star, and attaching that onto the cover. And I'm going to repeat the process of making more stars and tape gluing them onto the blind bag. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough to change my strong dislike of how this cover is looking so far, so I need to do a little renovation before I continue. I'm folding our paper in half the opposite direction, making a sizable crease on the vertical, and cutting along the fold to shorten the blind bag. Now I'm just reattaching the little decorations I made a couple minutes ago. Next, I'm bringing in my white paper to make the title of the blind bag. By the way, this black pen is dried up. Let's bring in a juicier black pen to draw in our design. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Meepyblues,
You shouldn't be using white and black in this challenge. It's not yellow, you cheater.
hear me out, okay? Here's a science fact for you. Depending on how you see it, when we are talking about this thing called the visible light spectrum, which is basically all colors that us humans can see with our eyes, black is the absence of color, and white is a combination of all colors. So even though white and black is not yellow, I'm not really cheating because this is a one color challenge. To cheat, I would be using another color, but I'm technically not using another color because 1, black has no color, and 2, white is not a single color but rather all colors, so it's not a color itself. It's like saying rainbow is a color, but it's not. It's a group of colors. And clear is not a color because there's no color. You can't see one. Well, I for sure confused you, but at least our title is complete. Had to reapply the big star where I placed it because it was getting in the way of the sign. And here's what I have so far. With my Ohuhu marker, I'm lining the top and bottom with lines. Using a black pen to trace out the marker lines for some extra detail, and finally adding in some clouds to the background with a white pen, which was, in my opinion, the best part of this blind bag cover. Our cover is complete. Let's switch our attention over to the back cover. First, I'm taking some white paper and making a sign with the word key on it. I know I call the list of rarities a key, but I know other people call it rarities or a legend. Personally, I think they're all valid and mean pretty much the same thing in the context of a blind bag, but to each their own. Let's glue tape the back and stick our sign onto the top of the back side. With that out of the way, we can write our rarities, which, by the way, I have no idea why, but I only wrote 3 rarities instead of 4. Maybe I was feeling lazy or 4 rarities didn't seem right for this blind bag. I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. I'm coloring in the rarity circles with whatever I had in the moment, and let's work on my signature. With that, our front and back covers are now complete. All we need to do left is to glue tape the edges, leaving the top edge unglued so that we can insert our blind bag items. Speaking of blind bag items, let's go make them right now. This time, we're going to start with the You Got paper. Let's fold this yellow paper, cut out a piece, and bring out the white paper again. I'm making another sign that says You Got. Duh, it's a You Got paper. You know what I've noticed? A lot of blind bag creators, including me, choose to make You Got papers instead of checklists. I too have moved away from checklists, but maybe I should bring them back. What do you guys think? Regardless of what you think, we need to attach this onto the front of the You Got paper. And for the inside, what rarity shall we pick? only chose common because I have no idea of what I want to make. But you know what? Not every blind bag needs to be legendary cha-ching every time. We gotta be humbled sometimes. So that wraps up our You Got paper. For the actual item, I want to incorporate this yellow Easter egg, and it kind of reminds me of this blob. Bringing in some white paper, I'm tracing the egg shape and cutting the middle out carefully using my scissors. I want to make sure that the paper doesn't get folded, so I'm working real carefully here, making sure not to crease the edges too firmly. I want the egg to sit nicely inside the cutter area, and to hold the egg, I'm just going to cut a random scrap of paper, cutting out a thin strip, glue taping the edges, and then placing the strip onto the white paper, ensuring that the egg can sit nicely within the hole. Finally, we just need to snip off the edges. And here's our little egg pocket. Next, we need to cut out the white paper in the shape of a sunny side up egg. Let's test out what the Easter egg looks like when it's inside the pocket. Good, that's exactly how I imagined it to look like. Now, I want to draw the blob's face onto the egg, but given the nature of a black ball pen, I wouldn't imagine for it to work on a plastic sleek surface like an Easter egg, and sure enough, my predictions were correct. In frustration, I whipped out my black brush pen and prayed to the blind bag gods that the ink would apply, but it seems like they were not on my side today. Okay, I had to go off camera to think about some solutions, and black paint seemed to be the best option that I know of. Bring in a white pen to add the highlights onto the eye as well as the mouth. Now earlier you saw that this blob was holding a cylinder stick. I just happened to have this corn dog stress ball or squishy with the exact same face as on the blind bag. What are the chances? I'm just kidding, obviously I planned this. I want this blob to be holding our corn dog, so first I'm gonna need to color on some arms onto the white paper. There we go, kind of look like arms. Slightly ambiguous. Maybe some extra cartoonish shading will make it look more like hands. I'm also taking the time to cut out the hole so that the corn dog can slip inside the hand. And why does the adhesive look like that? We need to remove that ASAP because that's looking nasty and it's kind of making me itchy. Let's assemble everything briefly. Cool, everything looks great. All that's left to do is to add some cartoon shading onto the white part of the egg. Let's zip our corn dog back into its pack again, and now that our items are done, we can now assemble our blind bag together. That whole time I was fearing that the glue tape wouldn't be able to hold all of those items inside securely, but in the end it turned out okay. This definitely was much easier than the other one color challenges I've done, but for now it's unboxing time. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Meepyblues out.